Hello and welcome to Analysing Avatar. Today we're taking a look at the episode Turning the Tides. For a quick recap, it's war. War is happening. Everyone gets drawn into the city to fight the Equalists. The Equalists choose that moment to sort of attack Air Temple Island. And Pema chooses that moment to do a baby. Because, good timing. The kids end up saving the day with some fart jokes. They do some fart jokes, and the Equalists are like, let's get out of here. I can't put up with any more fart jokes. And then fair. That pesky Amon is he's doing a big airship attack. And Lin sacrifices herself to help the family escape because they're, the last airbenders and stuff. While Team Avatar 2.0 look on at the ruined city. Lin dramatically loses airbending. Airbending? That'd be interesting. Well, she's definitely lost her airbending powers if she had them. Lin dramatically loses her earthbending powers, and then enter General Iroh. Very exciting. Zuki Poos. Yeah. The offspring of a Zuko. Very exciting.
Oh,
Very
so
exciting.
wait. So. Is what are we talking here? Is it so? It's not older because it's the same. Okay, so is it the same voice actor?
It is,
but it's not. It's not Zuko.
Well, it can't be Zuko, can it? He'd be an old man with a.
I genuinely thought he just changed his name to Iroh in tribute because it was the same voice.
That's amazing. But you've seen Katara. What anti-aging regimen do you think he's on? He looks the same. This is like he looks 5 years older. Like Katara was like an old woman. It's like 70 years have passed, Chris.
I just was like, oh, it's got good. I just was that. To be honest with you, I think I was so excited to hear the voice. I didn't think about the logic of what it meant.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. So hold on. So it's Azula's child.
No, it'll be Zuki Poo's child with.
Oh, right. I thought you said Azuka there. So.
No, I said offspring of Zuko.
Right.
At some point.
Oh yeah, you're right. That would make no sense. Dude's looking good if it's Zuko. Yeah. Oh, that voice then. Just that voice is. It is
his voice. They brought back the voice actor, which I do love. That is my favorite element of it, and I like that he named his son Iroh. I think that's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. It was right. So I'm looking it back, and I know what happened now. He appeared, and I went, "Who the fuck's that?" And then he spoke, and I got just completely distracted and sidetracked by the voice. It was just like Zuko. So
yeah, well, yeah. Can we? We'll start with a little trip to Nitpick Corner, Chris. Actually, can we just take a little side street? We're on the main road. We're on the motorway. We're heading somewhere pretty specific. Avatar reviewing lane.
Let me pick which trainers to wear, because I'm in that phase at the moment, Dan. I bought new trainers. They're exactly the same as my old trainers. I'm the kind of guy that has one pair of smart shoes, one pair of trainers,
yes,
and one
that's
pair
me
of running
too.
trainers.
Yeah.
I got my new trainers. They're very similar to my old trainers.
Yeah.
And I've been in that position where the weather's been so shit, but I'm doing that thing where I'm like, do I go new trainers or do I go old trainers, because they're gonna get dirty, and all trainers get dirty in the end, Dan. I don't know why I'm doing that dance,
Well, you're extending the life of new trainers, because what they say is that if you're wearing a thing every day, you'll get less time out of it in total. So, if I'm wearing the same pair of shoes for 100 days, or I wear two pairs of shoes and alternate them for 200 days, the pairs of shoes that I've alternated will last longer than the pair of shoes I've worn every day.
Yeah, of course.
No, I don't. No, I don't mean. No. You're missing my point. I'm saying, they will last longer if you that pair of shoes. If you're tallying up that individual pair of shoes days, it will do more than the pair of shoes you've done. It will still be longer. Right. Yeah. Obviously, yeah. If you're doing 200 days, that's different. But I'm saying the pair of shoes that if you're doing them alternately, they have a longer lifespan.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. So why, Dan? Do you and I only have one pair of trainers?
Because we're idiots and we're cheap bastards.
Well, Yeah. Well, no, I don't think we are cheap bastards, okay, Dan? I spend a lot of money on streaming services and Deliveroo. I think we have no interest in fashion.
That is the problem.
How we look.
That is the problem. If I cared about how... I've said this many times before. If I cared about how I look, then I wouldn't look like this, obviously. Like, I think, Yeah. I've made many choices in my life.
most people in my world the other day, if most people put on a shirt and went, "Oh, I look quite... I feel good in this shirt. I think I look all right. I like the colour. I feel good in this shirt." Most people would try and go, "What do I like about this shirt?" and try and replicate it across other new shirts. I brought 3 versions of that shirt. Like that's our approach to things.
Yeah, I'm like a cartoon character. You open up my cupboard and it's the same outfit 17 times.
Yeah. Anyway,
we're heading to Nitpick Corner, Chris. So I hope you've grabbed one of the 2 pairs. I tell you what, we're going by car, so get the new pair because they're not going to get dirty.
I'll get my new pair of trainers then.
Yeah. So we're at Nitpick Corner. Very quickly, I just want to talk about the voice actor that delivers the line "As you wish, General Iroh." The voice actor himself seems fine, but I would like to pull up whoever directed him that day for not getting a better take, because I'm very sorry, listeners, and I know everyone really excited to see General Iroh, but the guy delivers it in a way that like almost pauses for dramatic effect, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
He literally goes, "As you wish, General Iroh." Like he puts so much emphasis on it. Like it should just be a casual "As you wish, General Iroh." Like do it quickly and normally, like a conversation between 2 people. Don't do it in a way where it like makes it seem like the character was told right before he went to talk to him. If you just want to put a little bit of a pause between the 2 sentences, we want the audience to really feel the pause and the tension build before you reveal the name of the character. I think that's important. And he's going, "What are you talking about? I'm supposed to be a man giving my general information. What are you talking about? That's not how I would do that, because that's how no one would do that. No, just do it. It'll be fine. As you wish, General Iroh." It's horrible. If that happens and I'm in the booth, I'm just like, "Yeah, sorry, Jim," I've made it the name of a voice actor. "Could you just try that again and sound like a person would, please? That would be good." It drove me mad on this viewing. I've never noticed it before, and now I can't unhear it. It's so bad. It's not how people talk.
He might as well wink at the camera.
Yeah. And I've got another one while we're at Nitpick Corner, Chris, because I get these 2 out of the way quick because they're silly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter. But well, maybe this one is more than a nitpick. Maybe we're traveling into like complaint corner. I don't know. But they can all ride Naga now. Yeah. So the other week we did a big joke where they all got on Naga, and then Naga sort of reared up and they all fell off and went, "Yeah, that's not going to work." And then this week they can all ride Naga, and then not only do they all ride Naga, but Naga runs at like full speed and then leaps through the air and punches a dude, which is amazing. But all 4 of them just still on the back while that's happening. And
because I was thinking of the moment. There's a moment where Tenzin's there, to which you could argue, well, he's using some air. Naga's got that extra airbending power. Yeah. Maybe Tenzin's helping, but yeah, you're right. Then at the end, and the punch is fucking astonishing though. It's a fucking great punch. But yeah, you're right. At the end, all 4 ride him.
Yeah, all 4 riding. Now, I would be more annoyed at that, but then Naga straight up punches the dude, and that's kind of the best thing I've ever seen in my life. So I don't know. I'm torn, Chris. But they shouldn't all 4 be on the back of Naga. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
Maybe
they literally established that doesn't work like a week ago.
Maybe Naga couldn't be asked at that time.
Yeah. Still, I don't care for it.
Yeah,
anyway.
No, I know it doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense. But I don't like it's that classic thing where they've got a problem here in the Air City is the island is far away, and sometimes they want to do dramatic slow boat pull up reveals, and sometimes they want to do dramatic how are we going to get there? It's an excuse to use the car. And sometimes they need to move the scene quickly and do it. Like, it was the same problem in Avatar. The villages were as long, or the locations were as away from them as the plot needed them to be. Like, similar with Lost. Sometimes stuff is a day away. Sometimes it's, seemingly 2 hours away. Like, it's just relevant to what the plot needs it to be, isn't it?
Sure, but that's like, you can always, like, the Lost example is a good example, but it's also not quite the same thing, because what we're doing in the Lost example is we're saying, like, TV time, like, it's going to feel different, like, different times based on the story events. But, like, you can imagine if you want to fansplain it away, there's just lots of time we didn't get the impression of in the show. They just, they did have to trek for a day and we just didn't really show it. It doesn't quite always fit, because you could go, well, weren't they having the same conversation at the start and when they arrived, implying it was, like, a short time? But, whatever. You can sort of explain it away. Whereas this, literally, they jumped on the back of Naga reared up the old fell off and went, no, that's not going to work. Too many of us for this. And then went and got in a car. Now they're all just getting on Naga. Like, it is literally the thing they said they cannot do. It's sort of, I can't believe I'm getting a chance to use this word, Chris. It kind of breaks is that verisimilitude of the world, because it really is literally a thing they've told us doesn't work. And now they're doing it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm stepping out of nitpick corner into complaint alley, Chris. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's more of a complaint than a nitpick for sure. Maybe, Dan, we just we haven't got the impression of Naga doing shitloads of press ups and building himself to a point where he can.
Wait, Naga doing like a Rocky a Rocky style montage. He's like and he's like running down the street, like doing air punching, and he's like climbing upstairs, he's like high-fiving people as he goes down the street, which is practice for the punching.
Yeah, exactly.
I just like that song, to be honest with you, Chris.
Naga on the Philadelphia steps. That's what that's all about, man. That's what's happening there.
I love it.
My bigger problem with the car thing was still that I love that they, in that episode, they presented the car as a solution when the initial problem was, how do we get to Republic City? And the car was in Republic City. That's what wound me up about that.
Well, it was how they get around Republic City, but yeah, absolutely. Very good. We haven't talked about this, by the way. Very quickly, I just noticed this in the cast list while I was just getting getting the wiki page up for potential future use. I just noticed we never really talked about, Hiroshi Sato, the what's her face's dad, Asami's dad. That's voiced by Daniel Day Kim. So speaking of Lost,
oh nice,
Daniel Day Kim. We haven't talked about that. And I knew you'd like that.
Whenever Daniel Day Kim comes up on any podcast that we do, you and I are always like, I like that Daniel Day Kim's getting work. Nice. We're always so pleased. It's like we're his agent. Like, whenever it comes up, we're like,
yeah,
but
we're like the shittest agent, because we never get him any work. we just expect him to get work and then hold out our hands like, no, pay up.
That's like that. That reminds me of someone Dan and I used to live with at uni. He and I were in a taxi once, and we were chatting to the taxi driver. And as we got out, he said to me, he went, "Taxi drivers must love us." And I went, "Why?" And he went, "Because we're always so friendly. We're always so chatty. We always give them the time of day." And I just went, "Yeah, but we never tip." And he was like, "Oh yeah, good point. They probably don't like us."
Yep.
Just reminds me of that.
Very good. It's true.
I tip now. I tip on Deliveroo. Do you tip on Deliveroo, Dan? Do you give a ride a tip?
Yeah. But I'm always suspicious when you're doing it through like the app. I don't like it because, like, so a few years ago I went to like I'm going to name them, Pizza Express. Not been to Pizza Express since, but not because of this. Just because I don't go to Pizza Express very often. But I went to Pizza Express a few years ago, and at the end they were like, "Oh, when they hand you the device to pay with your card, and say, you just got to answer a few questions there." And the device says, "Do you want to give a tip?" Right. So I look at this, and I look at the employee, and I say, do you get this money?" And he sort of like looked panicked for a second and was like, "Not really." And I was like, "Right. So do I want to give a tip? no, is the answer. Digital device, and I will leave some change on the. I will leave some change or some money on the table for you. Like,
yeah, which is what that's what I do in restaurants. But on Deliveroo, I think it does go to the driver.
Well, this is the thing though, because of that experience, I just don't trust digital. I do it on those sort of services. I don't use Uber anymore, but like, your Deliveroos, your Just Eats, or whatever. If they have an option for dropping someone a tip who's done that, then always. But I'm always suspicious of it. And if I carried cash more, I'd literally never do it. But I don't carry cash really, so makes it challenging.
Yeah, I got given some cash the other day, and I've almost exclusively used it as tip money in restaurants. It's the only scenario. Anyway,
so let's talk about Korra. Let's talk more generally about this episode. How did you feel about the episode?
No.
I can't believe we're this many minutes in, and we're 18 minutes in, Chris. I'm only just asking you, how did you feel about the episode?
Yeah, but no, I think we're only like 14 minutes in. We did a little bit of pissing about, didn't we?
Maybe, I don't remember, but carry on.
Yeah, like we had to reconnect the phones and that sort of shit.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I loved it. Well, I don't know if I'd say love, because a lot of it is, fight scenes, which are great. I'm not criticizing the Tenzin fight scene. Everything I wanted from a Tenzin fight scene. The Lin fight scene is brilliant. The emotional impact of Lin losing her powers is great. I think once again the love triangle bullshit is nicely unfolding in a serialized story and manner, so that's great. The General Iroh at the end was phenomenal. The kids helping was fun until it turned into the farting baby. I had a similar sort of reaction to you as that. But in general, I really like this episode. I don't think it's it very much motors the plot forward, doesn't it? I wasn't as enamored with it as I have been some of the other episodes. But it wasn't by any means a bad episode. It's just we're gonna get from A to B, and we're gonna get there with some kick-ass fight scenes, and that's fine. That's cool. I'm down with that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? 'Cause I do think this is kind of an episode of two halves. Like, I think the first half of the episode, when we're just moving all the chess pieces into place, in that the Tenzin goes to Republic City, and all the counselors start getting like attacked. You realise this sort of is on. Amon really is entering his end game, as Tenzin says, and then the Team Avatar show up and they're being attacked, and there's just fighting in the streets. And earlier in the episode, I think Tenzin asks Lin to look after the kids, and it's kind of like you can see all this being moved into place. Like, it's that Ralph Wiggum meme. I'm in danger, Like, the second Tenzin asked Lin to look after the children, I knew they were in trouble. Like, the second. And I think what really works about this episode is the second half. I think the first half is just a lot of like seemingly aimless fighting. They're just in the street, equalists are there, they're fighting each other. And there's no tension, there's no stakes. I mean, obviously it's good guys fighting bad guys, but there's no specific stakes. There's no thing they're fighting over or for. Now, Avatar The Last Airbender was always very good at making every fight be about something specific. Aang was trying to save a city or stop a thing, and then like Zuko or whoever would catch up to him, and it would be like they would be complicating a thing he was already trying to deal with. Like Aang's come to a town and he wants to help them with their problem, but also Zuko is there, and like Zuko will add bodies to fight because he'll come with his whole fire army, but also Aang will be trying to solve a problem, then Zuko will be in the way of that. So there's always stakes. The first half of this episode is why I think you feel like that when you say it's like, oh, it's just a lot, it's just very action heavy. But the second half of the episode is when the stakes all actually start to occur, because what happens in the second half of the episode is the airbending island, is it Airbender Island? Whatever it's called, is attacked by the Equalists. And it's not just the job for the gang to stop the Equalists from attacking the island, but it's to save Tenzin's family. And then specifically, as is pointed out in the episode, and I think very, very cleverly, when Lin says, well, you're the last airbenders. I cannot let Amon take your powers. Like, I cannot let that happen. So you suddenly go, oh, shit, yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. Like, it's a really clever moment because it's a good characters thing for Lin to give that much of a shit, because she's previously shown herself uninterested in everything. But she's got that kind of tough quality of, like, she does care. She's just not very good at expressing it. And So you know that she's always felt that way about being protective of the people of the city and of Air Temple Island and all that stuff. Air Temple Island, that's probably what it's called. So we got this situation then where the last sort of 10 minutes of the episode are extremely tense and have a really good thrust of their own, where it's the tension of will the airbending children and family get away, you know. Plus, while they're being attacked, Pema is having the baby. That's all the second half of the episode, and that's full attention too. Yeah, it does have. We do have a return to fart bending, which is the worst thing about the show. I think in general, I don't like fart bending. I don't think it's particularly funny, and I didn't want to say it last time it happened, but because the first time it happens, it's like not a great joke, but it's like it comes and goes in like 2 seconds, and you go, fine, they did a fart bending joke, okay, cool. And now here we are, and it seems to be Milo's main method of bending, and I don't care for it at all. I understand how we got there. Wind, air, fart bending. I got it. I get it. Like, but it's not particularly funny the first time you make the gag, and it definitely isn't funny now. But anyway, so yeah, for me, the episode, I think I came out of it. I started watching it, and my notes were like kind of negative. Like, this is just a lot of aimless fighting. I don't know if I care for this. And then towards the end, I was like, this is genius. And then it, of course, ends with the incredible choice to have Lin be the most badass, followed by Lin being defeated in a way that is, permanent, as far as we know. You know, it's heartbreaking to watch Lin rip that ship to shreds and be like, what an absolute badass she is. Truly Toph's daughter. Keep in mind, by the way, Chris, Toph's daughter, grey hair. Zuko, though, still looks 20.
I've explained.
I know. I'm not going to let you live that one down, though. That is quite a good one. Anyway, so to have that moment, though, where Lin, like, is that badass, and then have her, like, defeated that way. And not only that, but in a sacrifice for a family that, you know, her only real relation to is one member of the family is her ex-boyfriend. Like, that's it. That's the connection. She's just doing it out of, like, duty, and also, like, to not have the world lose an art form like airbending. You know, she's doing it out of care for Tenzin and his family, but also, like, for all these other noble reasons, and just to see her that sacrifice really means something. And then also setting us up for the last few episodes. There is no character at this point you don't think Amon might take away the bending of. There's no one.
Yeah, because you kind of, as big a threat as that is, you sort of view it as, yeah, but some people are probably going to have plot armor, aren't they? Nope.
Right,
like,
and that's what I think's really good about this episode. Is it exactly does that. It's you know, killing off a main character early on, so everyone knows and has lots of tension for the rest of it, because they know full well now anyone could go. You know. So yeah, I'm really, really impressed with this episode once I get to the end of it. But that first 5-10 minutes is I wouldn't say a slog, but like not great. That's kind of where I think the episode as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Do you think we need, speaking of all the Lin stuff, because I agree with you, it's some of the highlights of the episode, the kicking ass, the losing powers, I agree with all of that. Do you think it would have been, given all that Lin does in that episode, instead of Tenzin saying, yes, she is, when the kids say, she's my hero, should it not have been his wife that said that?
Yes, I thought that. I thought that. Pema should have said that. I agree.
Because Penna's, their only interaction is a bit frosty. And I think, you know, using that as a sort of almost, because, you know, I think, and maybe it would have been too much to try and do this, but I like the parallels, you know, between what's going on with the younger kids and you know, the notion of, look, it could take time, but eventually you get through this. You know, with that moment, you know, you almost see the resolution and the true letting go of one love triangle bullshit story, whilst in the middle of it and at the beginning of it in another. I think there's some nice parallels they could have drawn to link those two things, or don't have the scene where they get frosty earlier. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think it needed that moment of her acknowledging that she was the hero.
And also, I think you get away with it, like when Asami, Korra, and Mako are all being a bit snotty because they're teenagers and they're all sort of like, they're all being sort of like, they're all being teenagers about it. They're acting like children, basically. This is not an adult way to behave. But then you've got the adults. I kind of would have liked them to set the better example and like for Lin and Pema to actually really get on. I think that would have been,
for sure.
That would have been nice, I think. That actually, they've, Lin's grumpiness is directed only at Tenzin. Because we've seen that she's grumpy with Tenzin earlier in the season, so we're not undoing that. But, like, I love the idea that she's grumpy with Tenzin because that's the person, that she had the relationship with. She doesn't see it as Pema stole Tenzin. She sees it correctly as Tenzin made a different choice, which is right. That's the right way to look at it. That's the adult way to look at it of the two. But like, I like that idea better. So I agree with you. I think either if you're gonna have the frostiness, show us that it's like behind them at the end by having Pema be the one that's like, yeah, she is like, what a hero. Or don't have it at all and have her be like really quite friendly with Pema, because that would have been really fun, and also setting a good example for the young'uns, because Mako, Asami, Korra, Bolin, the love rhombus. It's a mess. It's a real mess. What's going on with those guys? And although I love at this point, it's become a triangle again, and Bolin's just happily there. Bolin is really the Ringo Starr of this situation. But everyone around him has got complicated plots. It's like I watched that documentary about the Beatles. Paul dealing with newfound leadership with the manager has passed away. John dealing with an addiction, and struggling to find himself in all that. And then you've got George is like struggling to deal with the fact that Paul has taken leadership, and then Ringo's just happy to be there, and that is literally what's happening here, in that everyone else seems to have had complicated stories. And at one point, Bolin was involved in all that, but now he's just kind of, there.
Do you think, though, because I really do like the way they're slowly unfolding that plot, though. Whilst it is a bit, like, groany, I like the way they're basically sprinkling it across the episodes now. But the only danger with doing stuff like that is, like, if we... Like in this episode, we don't get to see the scene where Marco goes to Bolin. What the fuck? Why'd you tell her, man? And if we get that next episode, I think it's going to be too like no. You can't do like specific moments. You can carry over emotions, but that scene feels like it should be here. So the only disadvantage is, I think sometimes we don't fully get all the scenes we need. Although, to be honest with you, I feel like from what you've said so far about the episode, you're going to disagree with that. With my next point, sorry. To be honest with you, I kind of feel that way about her giving birth. I don't think there was that much tension in there. Because, right. And I'd have to thumb through the episode to get an exact count here, but it felt to me like she goes into labour, she's in labour, baby's born. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's not that much tension to me if it's basically each scene is a stage of that process. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, it has to happen very quickly because it's just the way of it. Like, these plots always play out over a condensed amount of screen time because that is just, that is animation. But yeah, no.
Yeah, I think... Also, this episode is specifically doing a lot as well.
Yes,
like,
it
there's
is.
a lot going on in this episode.
Well, it's doing a lot that it doesn't really get to until the 10-minute mark. That's the real issue, actually. Maybe the episode needed to start at the 10-minute mark. Like, we cut in and it's already gone to shit. They're already fighting, they're already fighting the Equalists in the city. It's all gone awry. Councilman getting kidnapped. This all happens in like the first minute to minute and a half of the episode. And then, we see that they might be going to Air Temple Island, and it becomes, we got to get through the city, we got to get back to Air Temple Island, save the family, and that's when we cut to Air Temple Island, where Lynn is on guard, and we find out that Pema's having the baby. Because you're right, they don't get to do a lot with it. I do still think it adds tension to the fight that follows, knowing that, like, that's the situation they're in, but then you're right, they don't do anything with it. I mean, it's, you'd think they'd be doing scenes where, like, they're in the house maybe, and she's in one of the rooms, and she's clearly, I think probably as well that they were avoiding having the screams because that's the weird thing about the choice of doing this is in an animated kids show, we're not getting Pema in the room like screaming as she gives birth, right? We're not showing the pain of childbirth in our Nickelodeon show.
No, but you could still in an episode where it's less about cramming stuff into the last 10 minutes, you could still do scenes where there's tension. You could have she's screaming, giving birth, and in the background we see equalists.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can't have the screaming, giving birth. That's my point.
Yeah, you can, but labour's hard, kids. Get used to it.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say there's absolutely no way Nickelodeon standards and practices would allow that. I don't think. Not depicting it with the actual screaming and the thingy. So what you've got to basically do is sort of cut around it. But I think there is probably a way to do it where you could have like they're in the house and there's a room she's in, so that's the room we've got to protect maybe, and that's kind of, and maybe there's a point when they've got to try and move her between the rooms, because then you can have her screaming. I don't know. Yeah, they've written themselves into a bit of a corner with that as a plot in general. But knowing that they're fixed to the island and can't escape is really where the tension comes in, because while she's giving birth, she's not being moved, is she? So they really do have to defend the island. And that's when we have all the shots just outside of the building where Lynn's out there fighting the Equalists. But yeah, you're right. Like, they don't do a huge amount with it. I still think it adds tension, but I don't think it adds, like, significant amounts of tension, other than that now they've got a newborn baby to protect as well as their existing 3 kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a quiet place, is it, Chris?
Let's talk about the 3 kids, them joining the fight. I thought that was great. I thought it was a really good balance of, they didn't do unbelievable moves. Like even the fart stuff, I don't like it, but it wasn't. It's not like the 3 kids appeared and had skills beyond their measure. Like it all felt realistic. Like each kid was slightly less skilled than the other. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I think it played really well because it almost seems like the Equalists were caught off guard,
which makes sense because the Equalists, which makes sense because not only the surprise of the 3 kids appearing, but the Equalists have never had to fight airbending.
Right, yeah. Well, I guess, unless they fought Tenzin, but only a handful of them will have fought Tenzin in the short time that they've been sort of more openly at war. So yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really, really good. And I also, it starts with get something like, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but something like, get your hands off my dad's old girlfriend, something like that, which is very funny.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's pretty great. I like that a lot as well, and I think it is one of the better moments of the episode because it's such a surprise, but it's also very enjoyable. Like I genuinely even having seen the episode, kind of forgot they got involved in that fight, and thought, here we go again, another sort of mindless fight just outside. It's just going to be Lynn doing some awesome earthbending. She does some awesome earthbending, but then we get like the story starts to sort of play out more clearly, and the kids getting involved. I think that's a big moment in the episode. I think it's a good moment, and I also like the little interaction they have afterwards when Tenzin gets back, and he's like, "You let the kids fight," and I'm like, "Buddy." There's no letting these kids do anything. Lynn did not put them on the front line. These kids made their choice. Like you have no control over them. What makes you think Lynn does? Like I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a dick about it, but yeah. I also enjoy that scene. I think ends with the reveal that Pema's having the baby. I think, or is that from the scene before? I can't remember, but. My thing that I like about that is just Milo. Milo does get his one funny line for the episode, which is "Not now, baby."
Yeah, that's earlier. The Tenzin coming back. Actually, I got a slight. You wanna pop our new shoes back on, Dan?
Oh, I'm popping on my clean ones, so the nice new ones, so we're getting in the car.
Yeah, we're gonna go there on Appa, so it's fine.
I'm going there on Appa. Wow. Very nice. He's probably quite old now, I assume, Appa.
It's fine. He can make it through.
He's on Zuko's beauty regime.
yeah. He's got what Zuko's taking. Lin doesn't reveal to Tenzin that she's having the baby. Lin says, "Go be with your wife." Now, as far as we know, there's no way that word has travelled back to him that she's giving birth. So personally, if the husband of the
really good point.
if the husband of the wife that was in labour appeared, I wouldn't be like, Go be with your wife. I'd be like, oh, by the way, she's fucking giving birth, mate. Let's instead of standing here assessing the kids, fucking get in there, man.
That's a really good point. Let me reread the exact dialogue because that's fucking hilarious. I never even thought of that. Wait, go. I'm gonna control F it on this. Oh, this horrible slow laptop. Go. Be. Oh god. It's not happening, Chris.
Not happening.
It's not happening. Oh wait, I might have it, Chris. Right, so your Tenzin arrives. Does anyone say anything? Mila, be careful. Lin. Girls need to get back inside this instant. Yeah. Dad. Oogie lands with Tenzin. Oh, thank goodness you're alright. We caught the bad guys. You let them fight. You realise what could have happened. I would have been toast if it weren't for your kids. You should be proud. You taught them well. Go on. Be with your wife.
Yeah.
Cut to the hall. Tenzin runs down. He hears the cry of a baby.
And then runs quicker.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. That's cruel. Lynn's doing like a gotcha. She's like, oh yeah, go be with your wife. Might be a little surprise
not even delivered
in there
like
for
that.
you.
It's not even delivered with like a knowing wink. It's literally just like, go be with your wife. Like,
yeah, you're right. That's hilarious. I was like convinced that when we were going to look back at it, we were going to find like an easily missed, line, from Milo, like mom's having the baby, but or something, just in like, the background maybe. But nope,
none of that.
None of that whatsoever. That's crazy. All right, well, cool. Good work. That's fantastic. How do we feel then about like? So we talked a lot about the second half of the episode, and that's the stuff that's really good. But the first half of the episode does have some interesting stuff in it, I guess. I mean, Amon going for the council members. Well, one of the council members actually having dialogue for once blew my fucking mind. They had the budget for that this week.
Yeah, the second that although that weird, that weird oppressive yes dear bollocks I didn't enjoy. But the second the council member, like it was clear it was a council member, I was like, oh, Dad's gonna be pleased.
Dialogue. Well, you've hit on something interesting about that, but we'll, because of the yes dear guy, we'll talk about that in a second. But yes, I was just to finish that point, I was fucking thrilled. I was like, oh, finally we got the budget to cast someone for the voiceless council members that always just seem to exchange looks and then put their hand up. Like what? Like madness in an animated show. I get that in a live action show because obviously every time someone opens their mouth and says words, you've got to pay them. And if you have them in as sort of background artists, as the phrase is these days, that you pay them a lot less. The second they get a line, it's a much like, so you often have scenes with silent characters like that. But in animation, I'm sorry, any old act, if they just want, give them one line. You don't have to hire like a crazy like professional like top tier voice actor. Just get someone in from the fucking writers' room to just say a line. That's fine. Like it's it just feels insane to me that they've never had lines because they've been involved in so many debates. It just feels like the only two people ever allowed to talk are Tarlok and Tenzin. It's madness. Anyway, the door, dear. Yes, dear. I want to talk about this because I want to talk about, in general, the comedy of this show. I've been thinking about it a lot this episode because this show feels very hit or miss when it comes to the comedy. We have great moments, like we had in an earlier episode where Tenzin says, you really are the worst. We have Bolin having the butler dry him and then immediately jumping back in the water. That is just, undisputably funny. But we have also had Milo fart bending, and then this weird character comedy that just doesn't seem to have a point. Like, there's a bit in this episode where Tenzin is speaking to some random, overly dramatic guy that works in government. And he goes, "It is a tragic day indeed." I'm fascinated by this character. Because what's the joke there, Chris?
I thought that was the same woman that watched Talek. I thought it was a woman. But maybe that's me. I don't know. Getting it wrong, but I thought it was the same character that watched Talek kidnap Korra.
I don't think so. Good question. But why? But why? In this episode, is the character so like randomly like over dramatized and over the top like that? What's the purpose of that?
I thought that was kind of just the character.
So the character is listed
I did think
as
the read was.
Page.
Don't get me wrong. I did think the reading of "It's a tragic day" was weird. I was like, that seems a bit OTT, all right. But yeah.
So I've got the character here. The character is called Council Page. 1 second.
Let's have a look.
No, this is definitely a guy. It says covering his face as the wind lies down in the script. So it's a him. It's for sure a him. Okay. But it might be the same person that oversaw the thing. But I thought that character was a lady. So I think maybe there are just several different council pages, like people who work, for the council and in government that are just like, little gophers that just sort of like, do admin and keep the government sort of like running on a more practical level, maybe. The council are for big picture stuff, and there's a bunch of people that just, deal with like ordinances and what have you.
I'm obviously being careful here because it's like spoilers. So it is a man, but it looks like the same council page has done a lot, to be honest with you, because their Wikipedia starts after Korra declined Talek's request to join his task force. The councilman
so was that person
tasked the council page with delivering various gifts and goods and gifts to the Avatar.
Oh yeah. So that's in an early episode. So this is the character, right? So this is the character that, if you remember when Korra turns down the task force, then he like gives her a car and a bunch of other expensive things, Tarlok, to try and make her do that. Yeah. So that's this page. Okay, but fine. But either way, I'm fascinated by this character. I don't understand the joke. I don't understand the idea behind this, because at least I didn't particularly find it funny, but the whole "yes dear, okay dear," that "get the door dear," that distracted husband shtick, right? I get that joke. I don't think it's funny, but I understand what the joke is, right? It's playing on an archetype of the disinterested husband, right? It's that's just sort of only half engaged in what's happening around him. He's too busy looking at his newspaper. I got it. No problem.
I did find after she was attacked, just the voice from inside the house going, "Dear." I did find that funny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. So there's even a payoff that kind of works. Great. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. So, I understand what the joke is there, but what is the joke with overly dramatic council page? It is a tragic day indeed. Hand on forehead, like, what is that? What is the character? What's the idea there? What's the joke there? And it's just,
I think it's just that character though. Like that's how they were when it was like, I watched Tarlok do it. Like I just think
I get that, but I'm standing by like, what's the purpose of doing it that way? What's the actual intent? What's the joke? What's the gag? What's the purpose of it? Because it's constantly being used for unfunny things that don't make sense. But also, this is an episode that also has, sort of fart bending, which isn't funny also. And I just think like the humor in this show in general seems to be really hit or miss. And it's almost like they're trying to recreate the comedy from the original show, but they're not quite sure how to do it naturally anymore. So it all just feels a bit forced. Like a little less effort and thought might go into it, but they're really trying to make sure there are jokes every 2 pages or something. And when it works, great. It is really good. When it works, it is great. Like I should say, it's there's some really good jokes in this show, but it really does feel like 50-50. like they're just throwing shit at the wall and like they're not paying too much attention as to whether the joke is really worth keeping in or not. And sometimes it undermines really dramatic scenes. Like and I don't mind a joke undermining a dramatic scene if the joke is genuinely funny. But if the joke undermines a dramatic scene and isn't particularly funny either, then you've really just lost twice. You know, you've sacrificed something and gained nothing is what's happened there. I don't mind sacrificing a little bit of dramatic tension for a laugh. That's fine. I'm on board with that. But yeah. Like there's a bit there's a bit earlier in the episode where Lynn gets given Milo like a baby, even though he's like old enough to be like walking and talking himself now. But like Tenzin just sort of hands Lynn Milo, and the initial joke is, "Oh, I said I protect your kids. I'm not going to become their babysitter." That's a funny joke. That bit makes me laugh, and then it is immediately followed by, "I gotta poo, really bad," and I'm like, "Are you kidding?" Like. One, Milo getting less funny every episode and more obnoxious. But two, like, why would you spoil a good joke with such a shit joke? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's 50-50. It's like, here's a laugh, here's a not a laugh. The husband, not funny, and then that final, dear, that's funny. I don't understand what's happened here with this show, and this is not specific to this episode. I'm just pulling this episode up for it because it has some really clean examples of good joke, bad joke, good joke, bad joke, and it just feels like it's been like the whole time, and I can't get my head around it. I don't understand what's happening. It's like two different people are writing and submitting jokes, and one of them's really bad at it.
One of them loves fart bending.
Yeah, yeah. Well, wait till we get to the truth. I know who loves fart bending. We'll talk about that. Let's just say that someone involved in this episode requested more fart bending and was shot down by Mikey and Bri.
Good on you, Mikey and Bri.
Correct choice.
Dan, how did you feel about the love triangle bullshit? I've sort of given my view on it. You've yet to.
I agree with you. I think when they handle it in small little doses because there's too much action going on and we don't have time to properly deal with it, that's fine because it's just like they have little moments. I like Mako and Asami's moment in the kitchen, and what I liked about it was it really did lay out and sort of just clarify for any audience members that were feeling what I was feeling after the last episode, which is like, Asami's acting a little childish here. This doesn't feel in character for her, because what she's complaining about initially is how he's been looking after and caring for Korra, and honestly, I'm sorry, she was kidnapped. If a friend of mine was kidnapped, they happened to be female, and I was like worried about them, went to help, was caring for them afterwards, I would not expect Nadia to be like, "What are you doing with this girl?" I'd be like, "Well, they were kidnapped, and now I'm being a friend." You know, in a tough situation. You're okay right now. I should probably make sure my friend is. You know, so that would be a shitty thing for someone to do. But what I think is really good about the kitchen scene where those two talk in this episode is it becomes very, very clear, very, very clear. That while she's saying it's about his behaviour in and around Korra at the moment, it all comes back to the kiss. What she's actually annoyed about is the kiss. And more so than the kiss, the not telling her about the kiss. And I think that's really good, because I think it sort of resolves any minor frustration I had with Asami's behaviour in the previous episode, where I was like, she's acting a little childish like this. I'd feel like she'd be a little bit above this petty bullshit. But, she starts by talking about his behaviours, but actually it's not really about that. And in a world where he hadn't kissed Korra and kept it from her, she wouldn't have probably had a problem with the way he was being. And I think that's really made clear in this episode. So I'm a fan of how it's handled. I also enjoyed you can get in the back seat with Korra, and then again, Bolin, just happy to be there, jumps in the seat that Mako was going to be in. Like, "Hey guys, what are we doing?" It's great.
Yeah, that was very funny.
Yeah, how did you feel about, because I assume you don't want to have anything to add to that because you already sort of talked about it. How are you feeling about like the action in general across this? Because, I talked earlier about how I prefer it once it has stakes. Like, there's some really cool visuals in the first half of the episode, but once we have it's getting the last airbenders out so they're safe, the episode gains a lot more from that, in my opinion. But how are you feeling about the action in general, like the actual fighting and stuff? Because you talked earlier in the year about like wanting to see some interesting forms of bending and interesting uses of bending. Did you feel like you got that here?
Yeah, but I also talked about wanting to hear like full force Lin and Tenzin, and I feel like this episode delivered that. I feel like Tenzin Tenzin fight, knowing that all of the other council members succumbed, seeing Tenzin like fight off all of those guys and like shoving, airbending people onto other buildings and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. Team Avatar as well. Asami just kicks so much ass with essentially the same weapon as the Equalizers, but she's just like destroying them. Korra putting the water bending the water into the robots to break them. I thought that was awesome, and obviously, you know, as we touched upon earlier, Lin taking down an entire ship with some kick-ass metal bending, as well as the emotional weight of seeing her in full force and then see that taken away. I thought all of that action was amazing. Like, I wanted to see Lin and Tenzin unleashed, and I feel like this episode delivered that.
Yeah. I was going to make a joke where I was going to say, I didn't know Denzel Washington was in this episode, but there was so much time passed from when you said the Equalizer instead of the Equalists that it would just would have been lost. So I just had to...
Is Equalizer not the singular for the plural Equalist?
I mean, they never say it in the show, but yet maybe I guess it would be.
Well, they never say that Nappa did a shitload of press-ups in order to be able to carry them all, but we know that's what happened.
I like that you just combined Appa and Naga and got Nappa, which I enjoy.
Naga, right? Is that what it is? I can't remember.
Naga, yeah. I feel like there are like 2 or 3 names you forget every week. Like, it feels like Asami and Naga are just gone every week.
I've been better with Asami, haven't I? I thought.
Yeah, you've got Asami and more to so now, but like it just feels like there was a real consistent thread of which characters you did remember and which characters you didn't, which I was enjoying. So I thought it was kick-ass. It's what was that saying?
I was just saying I thought it was kick-ass, especially like the robot stuff and anything to do with Tenzin and Lin. Phenomenal.
Yeah, they're both really well animated, and I'd say we're finally we not finally, but like we are getting more and more like creative uses of bending again, which I enjoy. I think, you know, we've already talked about this, but the pro bending stuff was good, but like very different visually, and I think I yearned for something a bit more creative, and it's really interesting because it feels like, because they're not in natural environments, because they're in a city, it feels like they're being more careful, like they're the stuff they're doing. Like the adults specifically, like we saw Korra fight those triads in the first episode, and she trashed everything fighting them. You know, using interesting bending techniques, like when she creates a little ramp that makes the car go into the shop front. That's a really unique and creative solution, but it trashes the city. And here we've got Lin and Tenzin, you know, bending, and when Lin's bending at the end, it's, you know, it's an absolute free for all because she's over the water, she's safe, so she can just go absolutely, you know, whole hog. But Tenzin fighting the Equalists at the beginning of the episode, you can really sense the deliberate choices of what he's doing to sort of like stop them with as little excuse me with as little damage to the city as possible, and that I really thought was clever and well done.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we move on, I did enjoy Korra's parking. I thought that was a fun joke.
Yeah, let's because we've not talked. Is there enough Korra in this episode of Legend of Korra, Dan?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think it's even though it's called Legend of Korra, it has kind of been an ensemble show in many ways. She, you know, yeah, I was fine with her having a less of an active role. That's okay.
And I enjoyed her being like, "Is everything all right?" Like I don't think, as much as she has feelings for Marco, she doesn't want to cock things up between him and Asami. Like I liked that. I liked the whole what you're telling me is to be patient, like the indication of learning. I still maintain if she finishes this season just knowing airbending, I'll be pissed off. We've not seen her really learn airbending.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But yeah, I thought there was I just noticed the episode ended and I was like, we didn't get a lot of Korra there. And I agree with you that it's not particularly an issue, but
I think if the show had a weaker ensemble cast around Korra, that'd be okay. That wouldn't be okay, because that would be you'd be leaning on characters that weren't as well established. But I think, like the original Last Airbender show, they put a lot of effort into making sure everyone has really interesting perspectives, personalities, stories around them, which means you are free to do episodes not focused on the lead, as the original show did. Thinking specifically of that those jaunts off with Zuko at the end of toward the middle of season 3. When each character sort of went off on a little adventure with Zuko one by one. Sokka and Zuko went off to Boiling Rock. Katara and Zuko went off to fight to fight the guy that killed her mother. Aang was basically not in or barely in those episodes, and I'm sure there were other examples from earlier than that. I think when you've got a strong cast like this, the lead can take a back seat for a week. It's fine as long as we sort of start and end with Korra, as long as she is sort of leading the way,
present,
for the main plots and is present for this stuff. I think that's fine. Yeah, I didn't see that being a problem with that. It's an interesting thought though. That hadn't really occurred to me. I didn't finish the episode and go, I didn't see a lot of Korra this week, but yeah, what's that? There's noise going on. I don't know what it is. Oh, it's a child. It's just a child, Chris. Just a child making weird noises.
I sometimes play a game with your noises of chair or Walt, and I don't know for sure whether it's your chair squeaking or Walt complaining about.
Is this
something.
A recent thing? Because I have noticed this chair is quite squeaky now.
Last few weeks. You don't need a new chair because sometimes it's Walt. I think it's just a fun.
I'm gonna oil the chair after this podcast. That's what I'm gonna do, Chris.
I'm not. No, that's not what I'm saying, Dad. I'm not demanding.
No, I know you're not. But I've been thinking, how often is the chair being heard? And you're confirming enough.
Well, I didn't mean to make you spend money. I feel bad.
I have oil.
Huh?
I have oil.
What you can put? What are you going to get? I'm confused now. Are you going to get a new chair? Or are you going to?
No, I'm going to oil the chair. Is what I said.
Oh, I thought you were going to get a new chair. I thought you were buying a new chair. Right.
No.
I swear you just said I'm going to order a new chair after this. Oh, oil the chair. You must have said I'm going to oil the chair after this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Oil away then. In that case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll oil away and see if that reduces the sound.
Listen, Dan, if when you're oiling your chair you spill any oil over yourself, take a picture and send it to me.
Will do, as always. As per our agreement.
Yeah. Yeah.
As per our existing agreement. Very quickly.
Like I do whenever I'm using fairy liquid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look, we all have our thing. No judgments. One thing I wanted to talk about very quickly, and it's not just for this specific episode, but I don't know when else to talk about it. The music in this show is so fucking good. And I just wanted to say that. It's got all the beauty of, the original Avatar's score, sort of ancient and soothing, but also dramatic when it needs to be. But in this series specifically, they occasionally mix it in with, pure sort of 1920s music, and I don't know how it works, but it works. And it's so good. And I love it. And I just wanted to give it a shout out because we don't talk about it enough. It's great in every episode, and I could literally, if I wanted, every single episode of Legend of Korra, I could literally be like, and by the way, the music was great this week. I could say that every week because it's just true. It's always true. It's never not true. So yeah, just wanted to give them a shout out for that because I think they've done beautiful work.
The music's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Particularly the opening scene of this episode made me think it, where it's just they're all just trying to live their lives following the aftermath of the previous episode, and they're I don't know, they're all just sat around and it's really down, but the music is so weirdly uplifting. I don't know, there's something about it. It's really powerful stuff. Very well done. Thumbs up.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, and it's always really on point and just great.
Mm-hmm. Big fan. Shall we do some trivia, Chris?
Let's trim it up!
I'm going to give you some trivia. Now, Chris, we're going straight in this week. During the Harry Potter movies, Daniel Radcliffe went through 160 pairs of glasses. I missed it 2 weeks in a row. I wasn't missing it this week. I'm doing it first.
Yeah. You know what? I think this week, if you'd have forgot it again, I wouldn't have noticed. So, yeah.
There you go. So, the newspaper that the Fire Nation councilwoman's husband read had a picture of Tarlok on the front page. I don't know why that's trivia, but it's trivia. There you go.
Yeah, that's one of those classic pieces of trivia where you're like, that seems more like something that's happening in the episode.
Yeah, but I guess Tarlok isn't really a part of this plot, so maybe, I guess it's just kind of a little nod to that. That's still ongoing, I guess. because Tarlok's not really a part of this. But yeah, I see what you're saying. But yeah. So much like the Waterbending Master, this episode ends, Waterbending Master being an episode of Avatar The Last Airbender, this episode also ends with the leader of a fleet standing at the helm of a battleship, setting their course for a particular destination. In addition, both episodes are the third to last episode in Book 1 of their respective series. Sure.
Nice.
The White Lotus Sentry's final stand against the Equalist is reminiscent of fellow White Lotus member Iroh's final stand against the Dai Li in the Crystal Catacombs, as both did so to buy time for the Avatar to escape, despite knowing they would eventually be captured themselves. So there you go. During the Harry Potter movies, Daniel Radcliffe went through 160 pairs of glasses. That's right, Chris, I'm doing it 3 times this week to make up for the 2 I missed. So, buckle in, there's 1 left. Lin Bei Fong uses her metal bending to rip open and destroy an Equalist.
You know what? I don't want your oily pictures.
Are we tearing up the agreement?
I just Radcliffe thing, man. Man, carry on.
Lin Bei Fong uses her metal bending to rip open and destroy the Equalist airship, similar to how her mother Toph used her metal bending skills to bend the rudder of the Fire Nation ship in Sozin's Comet. I noticed that also. The Equalists' invasion of Air Temple Island underwent several changes during the first season's production. So at one point when writing Book 1, the creators had the Equalist attack, in terms of its placement in the story, at a point prior to this episode. So they had it in like an earlier episode. At one point it was in at the end of the next episode. And then at one point it was actually in the final episode of the series. So it got moved around a few different times before finding its place here. And that's interesting to hear, because this episode really feels like it is based around that idea. So I find that quite interesting, that there was versions of this where that battle sort of didn't have that space and was crammed into another episode. That would have been much worse. So smart decision, I feel.
Yeah, I think that was the right decision, like narratively, for sure.
Yeah. During his fight with the Equalists, Milo was going to use more fart bending with director Ki Hyun Ryu. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies if I'm not. Having tried to convince Michael Dante DiMartino to include more farts in the scene, he was unsuccessful. Thank you, Mikey. Mikey and Bri, legends.
Well done, Mikey and Bri. Good move.
Good call. The White Lotus Sentries would have had an expanded fight scene with the Equalists in the original version, but it was cut down for time. That's fine. That makes sense. The slow motion shot of Lynn falling to the ground after her bending was taken away was influenced by Julia's death scene in Cowboy Bebop. That is an anime reference I actually got, because I've seen Cowboy Bebop. So yes, very cool. Very cool. And finally, of course...
Very rare. It's usually quite obscure, but I'm glad you got it.
Yeah. Usually it's like some anime I've never heard of, like or I've heard of it, but I've never actually got around to seeing it. Look, I like Cowboy Bebop and Attack on Titan. Leave me alone. I tend to watch the big boys. I'm not deep in the world of anime. I like the ones I like. I've seen Demon Slayer. I've seen the first season. It's fine. I get it. It's cool. I don't know. I'm not deep in the world of anime. I don't have the time. Christ, there are people who watch all the anime, and I just feel sorry for them, because every Sunday and Saturday, like, they must just have 20 episodes to watch of everything. And the idea of, like, essentially a season's worth of television dropping every Sunday is too much for my brain. I can't do it.
Yeah, but do you remember, though, I mean, there was a point with Nothing But Static where we were literally, in terms of, what do you review? It was everything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I'm glad we relaxed those rules.
10 shows an episode.
And final piece of trivia, Chris, during the Harry Potter movie.
No, I don't think we need the final piece of trivia, Dan. Why are we bothering with the Let's leave the people wanting more. Why bother with the final piece of trivia, Dan? Let's move on.
I say I do the final piece of trivia because that means we're back to the right number of times I've given this trivia, so that's important to my brain. During the Harry Potter movies, Daniel Radcliffe went through 160 pairs of glasses. There you go. We did it. We did it.
Good.
So
good. Where, Dan, can the people find us?
Oh, so many places, Chris. So you can go to youtube.com/nothingButStaticUK if you wish to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel that has these episodes on it in video form. And I say video form, we don't film ourselves. It's just loose imagery with the audio slapped over it. But there, you can support us by liking and subscribing and commenting. And if you have any thoughts about the episode, that's where you can leave them. If you don't fancy going over to YouTube and having a YouTube account in order to do that, you can always email us, mail@nothingbutstatic.co.uk. If you'd like to support us, there's a few different ways you can do it. Way number one, head over to the Patreon and give us as little as $1 a month. It gives you access to episodes of this and Rewind Reviews 1 week early. Way number two, you could tell a friend. We like when you do that. Way number three, you can review the podcast on your platform of choice, and then that tells that platform you liked it, and then it's more likely to recommend it to other people because of the algorithm. You know, Algae Rhythm, played by Don Cheadle. That great character from that classic movie.
Emmy
you were the big fan of that movie, Chris. I was waiting for a comment.
What movie you need to remind me what movie where Don Cheadle plays an AI?
Space Jam 2.
Space Jam. Space Jam. I don't know if I'd call myself a big fan of that movie. I'd say I enjoyed defending that movie against you for the amusement.
I see. Well, riled me right up because that's a shit movie for shit people. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways. In other ways, it was the best movie of the year.
Yeah, it's great. I loved it. Anyway, that tells the algorithm you like what we've done, and then we can all be happy when we'll gain new listeners because it will suggest us to other people. The other way you can support us, of course, is just by keeping listening. We enjoy you doing that. So come back next week for the next one because we'd appreciate that too. Or go back and listen to some of our other stuff. We have Nothing But Static, our other main TV podcast, and we have Rewind Reviews where we review old television, movie things. God, my brain is dying.
Which is coming back soon with. Is it what's it coming back with? Is it Armageddon?
Rugrats
the movie.
And I think, Chris, I might have found a movie to review that neither of us have seen.
Ooh.
So next season of Rewind Reviews, we're going to do our first ever fully blind Rewind review. I assume anyway.
Yes.
I'd never even heard of the movie, and I saw someone talk about it the other day, and I was intrigued. I've never watched a trailer in my life, Chris. A little tease for the next season of Rewind Reviews. I've never watched a trailer in my life. I've been so unsure of the quality of the film. Like, the spectrum of things this film could be is massive. It could either be an absolute shit show that's deeply problematic and a nightmare, or it could actually be really good. Like a cult classic, sort of good. So I'm really interested.
Look forward to checking that out.
Yeah. So a little tease for that, and we'll come back. So we're starting with Rugrats, which isn't that movie, and then later on in the season, I'm gonna pick this movie I've just mentioned. Anyway, but yeah, for those who don't know, we do old movies, and I pick one, Chris picks one, I pick one, Chris picks one. We just do that back and forth, and then we review the movie, and then do trivia. It's very similar to this, but for a movie, so it tends to be a bit longer, which is either a good or a bad thing depending on your preference or your whether you like us or not, basically. If you like the idea of more of this, then yeah, crack on.
Can I just say, if you don't like us and you're still listening, like, power to you, like, fair play.
Yeah, I mean it's a real hate listen, isn't it? Good luck to you. Mm-hmm. I think that's. Did I do all the things? Wait. I think so. We got up to. Oh yeah, if you want to support us, you can go listen to our other podcast. That's right. Actually, I think I covered everything. So there you go. Thanks everyone for listening. Oh, go support Raphodraws. Launch links /u/ Oh, I got it right last week, and I feel like I'm not going to do it this week. Launchlinks.io /u/Raphodraws. RAPHO draws DRAWS. Raphodraws. You can also get them on Instagram at Raphodraws. They do the art that we use as the main art for this podcast, the little app, the little drawing of Avatar at sunset. It's beautiful. There's lots of really good art from all sorts of different fandoms, and also a bunch of original stuff. It all looks great. Go support Rapho. There you go. I think that's everything. That's everything.
There we go, people.
Great. So thanks everyone for listening. I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
And we'll speak to you next week when we sit down to review Skeletons in the Closet. Ooh. That was a little impression of you, Chris, because you used to do that.
Sorry, I'll do it. You do one and I'll do one.
Okay. Ooh.
Nice.
It's a good noise.